When you were leader of the Labour Party, a lot of the donations, the funds, came from individual donors. Now, recently, one of the bosses, or the boss of Phones for You, John Caldwell, billionaire, is now just thrown his weight behind the Labour Party. Says the Labour Party speaks for him. So we're talking about Keir Starmer saying, you know what, we support workers. How can you square that circle when we've got ex-Tory donors, billionaires, now supporting the Labour Party?
When I became leader of the Labour Party in 2015, a lot of the very wealthy donors that had loaned money to the party under Tony Blair and never asked for it back, suddenly asked for it all back. And we then had to go out and raise money. And we did. And the average donation was 25 quid. Many donations were smaller than that, £5, £10. During the 2017 election, we almost ran out of money halfway through the campaign. I did an appeal and we raised £1 million straight away from people, ordinary people all over the country. This campaign here in Islington is funded by £10 donations. It's more honest and safer to have money from people who have no pecuniary interest in the campaign. Once you start taking money from big business, from big companies, they're going to want something. They're going to want something in return. And that's why I refuse to accept, well, they weren't offered anyway, big financial donations. And I think we need to clean up our politics in Britain and stop business funding of political parties.
There seems to be many, let's say, women of colour being treated pretty poorly by the party. Faiza Shaheen, just around the corner, is now standing as independent. So what do you think holistically the view from the Labour Party, particularly the leadership, on women of colour, Muslim women, minority people?
Well, the holistic approach appears to be that they're attacking people of the left. They don't want highly articulate, very intelligent, very capable representatives of the black community like Faiza, like Diane, to be candidates and speaking out. And they're not the only ones. Others have been blocked and barred as well. But this election isn't over yet. We've still got 10 days to go. The duopoly of economic pressures and offers by the Conservative and Labour Party is beginning to unravel and be exposed. And it's campaigns like this one here that are showing people there has to be an alternative, and you need those voices in Parliament that are going to make those demands to end child poverty in our society, to end rough sleeping homelessness. But you can't do that if you don't address the fundamental issues of economic inequality.
To focus more on your campaign, you're obviously running against the Labour Party, but you're running against the machine, you're running against the Labour brands. Do you worry that this is going to be actually a very difficult election to win, because you are very popular in your constituency, you were former leader of the Labour Party, people know your name, but given that you've got money against you, the Labour brands, it's not a walk in the park.
There's no walk in the park except this park. But it's a people-powered campaign, and we've got a lot of people, local people that have just turned up at our office and said, Jeremy, what can I do to help? People that I've known in passing for years who I didn't even think were particularly political, they said, no, what's happened to you is wrong. We're going to support you. And we've got lots of other people that come in. So we've got a lot of people helping. Yes, it is difficult to get that message across about being an independent. And why? Because they've voted for me for the past 10 general elections as a Labour candidate. What they're getting on offer is exactly the same me and exactly the same MP. I will always speak up for the people that have been good enough to elect me to this job. And if I'm elected on July the 4th, I'll be very proud to continue representing the people of Islington North.
Labour have their fiscal rules baked in their manifesto. What would you say your general response is to their manifesto, their programme they're offering to people? Now, within that manifesto, they wouldn't even scrap the 2-child benefit cap. And they say, well, we need to move towards the centre to win elections, but surely there is a limit at what they're doing. So what's your response to their general economic package?
What's centrist about keeping 300,000 children in poverty? What's centrist about allowing inequality to get worse? What's centrist about allowing working class living standards to fall by 20%? The manifesto mentions business 60 times and inequality once. Come on. Families around here, people around here, all around the country, are in a desperate crisis. Crisis of poverty, crisis of debt, crisis of a lack of hope, and there's a mental health crisis facing the whole country. It's up to political parties to offer something different and something better. And that's what we should be doing. That's what we're doing in this campaign. And you know what? The resonance on the doorstep is amazing.
I read their manifesto. They talked about building housing, but no council housing.
Exactly.
Young people like me or younger are worried about housing, getting on the ladder, but council housing is a huge integral part to addressing the housing crisis. Why has the Labour Party completely abandoned council housing, it seems?
I love it the way the media always talk, not blaming you here, the media always talk about housing in terms of house prices. They always say the housing crisis, straight on to house prices. They never talk about homelessness. They never talk about council housing. They never talk about regulation of the private rented sector. If we're to deal with the housing crisis, you do a number of things. One, you build council housing. Two, you regulate the private rented sector. Three, you have a requirement on every local authority to house every rough sleeping homeless person. And you move on from there to try and bring about an end to this crisis. People, if I may say so, of your age and younger, who are deeply in debt from going to university, earning possibly headline figure, not a bad salary here in London, yet spending half of their take-home pay, if not more, on trying to sustain themselves in a pokey flat somewhere. It doesn't happen all around the world. It doesn't have to happen here. But it does mean you've actually got to challenge the greed of those that make money out of the housing shortage.
People are calling this the independent election. I like to think it's also possibly the independent media election too. So how important is it that we have an independent media not funded by billionaires to take on the political establishment?
Absolutely essential that we have a free-thinking, free-speaking, independent media in our society. We've now got the technology undreamt of years ago, where you can actually quite simply set up, do interviews as we're doing now, and broadcast those. So why do we allow big media companies and the cultural agenda setting by the BBC to dominate all of our political and popular understanding of life in this country? So I enjoy working with the independent and the popular media because it's a way of getting that message across. And also, in a social media age, young people under 40 almost never buy newspapers, don't watch the BBC, occasionally watch a bit of ITV or Sky, but actually tune in increasingly to social media or social media messages or independent media like yourselves. Roll it on.
Jeremy, thank you so much and good luck on the campaign.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to do it. Patreon.com, Turn Left Media. Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn Left.